It was a typical Wednesday afternoon, and I found myself strolling into the familiar halls of my old high school. Nostalgia gripped me as I stepped through the heavy doors, the scent of aged books and memories enveloping the air. Little did I know that this particular visit to the library would leave an indelible mark on my soul. As I entered the library, my eyes were immediately drawn to a figure huddled in the farthest corner of the room. A sense of unease washed over me as I recognized the person. It was my old friend, Alex. We had lost touch over the years, but his presence in this desolate spot felt both eerie and disconcerting. Approaching cautiously, I could see that Alex's usually vibrant eyes were clouded with despair. His hands trembled as he clutched a worn-out journal, its pages filled with hastily scribbled notes. I could sense the desperation emanating from him, a darkness that seemed to envelop his very being. "Alex, is that you?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. His gaze snapped towards me, and I could see the flicker of recognition in his eyes. "What are you doing here?" he murmured, his voice quivering with a mix of fear and confusion. I could tell that something had profoundly affected him, something beyond our comprehension. Ignoring his question, I slowly made my way towards him, my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel the weight of his sorrow pressing against my own emotions, threatening to consume me. Gathering my courage, I gently asked Alex, "What's going on? You seem different." His voice cracked as he began to pour out his torment, the words stumbling out in disjointed fragments. He spoke of strange visions that plagued his every waking moment, of whispers that echoed through his mind, tormenting him relentlessly. The line between reality and nightmare had blurred, and he could no longer distinguish the two. Listening intently, my mind raced to find an explanation for his distress. Was it a psychological breakdown, a result of stress or trauma? With a heavy heart, I realized that I had to act. It was evident that Alex was in no state to face these demons alone. I persuaded him, delicately but persistently, that seeking help was the only way forward. Slowly, he relented, his grip on the journal loosening as he surrendered to my pleas. Together, we made our way to the local police station, where I recounted the harrowing tale of Alex's descent into madness. The officers listened attentively, their expressions a mixture of concern and disbelief. It was a struggle to put into words the sheer terror that had consumed my friend's life, but I knew that it was crucial to do so. Days turned into weeks, and Alex began his journey toward recovery. With the support of professionals, he slowly pieced together fragments of his shattered reality, finding solace in the arms of therapy and medication. While the scars may never fully fade, he emerged from the darkness stronger, a survivor of his own haunting experience. It all began on a gloomy Monday morning, the day when our school went into lockdown due to a security threat. Classes were suspended, and panic was palpable among the students. Now, I must confess, I've never been one to follow the rules, and this unforeseen turn of events presented a golden opportunity for me to embark on a little adventure. While my classmates huddled in fear, I saw this as a chance to break free from the mundane routine and indulge in some solitary exploration. With my heart pounding, I decided to skip class and seek refuge in the school library, a place where I could hide away undetected. As I crept through the deserted hallways, the silence wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket. The flickering fluorescent lights added an eerie ambience, heightening my senses and sending shivers down my spine. Each creaking floorboard amplified my anxiety, amplifying the feeling that I wasn't alone. Finally, I reached the library, a vast, dimly lit space that echoed with the whisper of books. The scent of aged paper and dust mingled in the air, intensifying the mystique of the surroundings. I nestled myself in a cozy corner, grateful for the concealment it provided. I heard it, a faint, barely discernible sound of footsteps, growing louder with every passing second. My heart rate skyrocketed, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Who could it be? Was it a fellow student, another rule breaker like myself, or something far more sinister? I held my breath, praying that my hiding spot would remain undiscovered. The footsteps drew nearer and nearer, echoing ominously through the library's labyrinthine aisles. Panic gnawed at me, threatening to betray my presence. I strained my ears, desperate to identify the intruder. Suddenly, the footsteps halted. Time stood still as the weight of the silence bore down on me. I strained my eyes, peering into the dimly lit recesses of the library. And there, emerging from the shadows, I saw a figure, tall, clad in tattered clothing and wearing a mask that concealed their face. It was an unnerving sight that sent chills down my spine. As this mysterious person prowled through the library, their every movement exuded an air of malevolence. They appeared to be searching for something, moving stealthily between the rows of books, their gloved hands caressing the ancient spines. The way they glided from shelf to shelf, eyes darting from left to right, made it clear that they were on a mission, one that didn't bode well for anyone caught in their path. Fear engulfed me, threatening to render me paralyzed. I could feel their presence drawing nearer, the weight of their gaze fixated upon me. My mind raced, concocting wild theories about their intentions. Were they a deranged intruder, a vengeful spirit, or perhaps something even more inexplicable? Unable to bear the suspense any longer, I made a snap decision. I silently slinked deeper into the shadows, praying that my trembling legs wouldn't betray me. I needed to escape, to alert the authorities, and ensure the safety of myself and my fellow students. Every step I took was measured, my breathing shallow and rapid. The seconds stretched into eternity as I navigated the labyrinthine aisles, my heart pounding against my ribcage. Finally, I reached the emergency exit door at the far end of the library. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my phone and dialed 911, my voice barely above a whisper as I relayed the dire situation. The operator assured me that help was on the way and instructed me to stay hidden until they arrived. Time seemed to move at a glacial pace as I crouched behind a row of bookshelves, straining my ears for any sign of movement. The minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity, and the weight of my decision to skip class now bore down heavily on me. What if I had stayed in my classroom like everyone else? Would I have been safer? As if in response to my internal struggle, a faint shuffling sound reached my ears. My heart skipped a beat, and I held my breath, trying to locate the source. The library's silence was shattered by a rustle of pages, followed by a low, guttural growl. Terror surged through my veins, paralyzing me momentarily. Peeking through a gap in the shelves, I caught a glimpse of the masked figure, their back hunched over a book they had found. They caressed the pages with an unnatural tenderness, their body language both reverent and possessive. It was as if they held some dark secret within those pages, something that could alter the course of our lives forever. Suddenly, a beam of flashlight pierced through the darkness, casting an ethereal glow on the figure. Law enforcement had arrived, and a wave of relief washed over me. They cautiously approached the intruder, demanding they drop whatever they were holding. The figure turned to face them, their mask concealing their identity. A tense standoff ensued as the masked figure refused to comply. Their voice, when it finally emerged, was chilling, a whisper laden with desperation and an indiscernible accent. They spoke of ancient knowledge, hidden realms, and a desperate quest for power. It was a tale that seemed straight out of a horror movie, but in that moment, it felt all too real. With a sudden burst of adrenaline, the masked figure lunged at the officers, wielding a knife that had been concealed beneath their tattered clothes. Chaos erupted as shouts, screams, and the clash of metal filled the air. I watched in horror as the officers fought to subdue this enigmatic threat, their lives hanging in the balance. Minutes that felt like hours passed before the situation was finally brought under control. The masked figure was apprehended, their motives remaining shrouded in mystery. As I emerged from my hiding place, the reality of the situation hit me with full force. I had narrowly escaped a potentially tragic fate, and the events of that day would forever haunt my memories. It all began on a gloomy Tuesday morning. I was your typical high school student navigating the maze of adolescence while trying to make it through the day unscathed. I was minding my own business, feeling the weight of my backpack as I trudged down the empty hallway toward the school restroom. As I entered, I couldn't shake off the eerie sensation that something wasn't quite right. The air felt heavy, as if it carried secrets and hidden horrors. In the dimly lit bathroom, I caught sight of a figure lurking in the shadows. It was the janitor. He stood there, tall and imposing, with an unsettling grin plastered across his face. I tried to dismiss my unease, convincing myself that I was being paranoid. However, his eyes locked onto mine, radiating a malevolence that sent a shiver down my spine. Attempting to ignore the unsettling encounter, I hurriedly finished my business and exited the restroom. But as I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if the janitor's gaze was still fixed upon me. It was a discomfort that clung to my every step, making my heart race and my breath quicken. Little did I know that this was only the beginning of the horrors that awaited us. Later that same day, chaos erupted within the school grounds. A group of my classmates stumbled upon the janitor, brandishing a gleaming knife in his hand. Fear consumed them as they desperately tried to escape his menacing presence. The sound of echoing footsteps, frantic cries for help, and the desperate gasps for air filled the hallways as the janitor pursued his prey. The terror-stricken students ran for their lives, their screams echoing throughout the school. Panic ensued as news of the terrifying chase spread like wildfire. Eventually, the police were called, and they arrived on the scene in a frenzy. With sirens blaring and lights flashing, they managed to apprehend the deranged janitor, bringing an end to the terrifying nightmare that had unfolded within our supposedly safe sanctuary of learning. Reflecting on this traumatic experience, I can't help but wonder what twisted motivations drove the janitor to commit such heinous acts. Was it madness that consumed him? Or was there something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? Regardless, the scars of that day will forever remain etched in our memories. A constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the most unexpected places.